Our next honoree, Dr. Clarissa Desjardins, is a highly successful entrepreneur in the biotech industry at a time, as John referenced, when science has become a political flashpoint to some, and health and science disinformation is infecting the internet and beyond. In the middle of all that noise, the barriers and the falsehoods, however, several truths stand out. Life sciences has contributed mightily to us gaining a measure of control over this pandemic. It showed that it could innovate on a dime and develop new products and new biological platforms that address pressing public health problems. Clarissa herself keeps researching as well, inventing and building, continuing along her scientific journey of discovery, determined to unlock the possibilities for new treatments and medicines. She does it because she has the tools to help people and wants to put them to work. Clarissa is a proud Canadian whose story exemplifies what makes this country so great. She grew up in Moncton, New Brunswick, her father a proud Acadian, and her mother an immigrant from South America who came to Canada to get a better education. The importance of education and of giving back was certainly imbued in her from an early age. And then it was at McGill that Clarissa, a PhD student in neurology and neurosurgery, same double major as me, discovered her entrepreneurial skills and her preponderance for risk-taking. She developed the widget, a fluorescent peptide that made her research a little easier. Then she realized she had an invention on her hands, commercialized the widget, built a company around it, and then sold the company. After that, she was hooked. Clarissa went on to do it again, building another company, Clementia Pharmaceuticals, which develops therapies for rare pediatric bone diseases. She sold that company in 2019 for a paltry $1.3 billion US. Same, just keeps going on. Another satisfying experience for the serial entrepreneur, although not without a tinge of regret, because Clarissa is also dedicated to the proposition of developing a vibrant life sciences cluster around Montreal. Exits are fine, but entries are even better. Just last year, Clarissa founded yet another biotechnology company based in Montreal, Congruence Therapeutics. In April, the company attracted $50 million to build out what Clarissa describes as a world-class team of drug hunters to efficiently design novel small molecules for rare diseases of high unmet medical need and progress them toward and into the clinic. 4 companies. She's built 4 companies in a 28-year career. And as her career and experience has grown, so she says, has the biotech ecosystem in Canada. So much so that she's now able to attract Canadian investors to her companies rather than having to go to American ones as she had to with her earlier initiatives. In addition, the team members she's worked with over the decades are now starting their own companies. The cluster is taking shape. A pretty impressive legacy. That is, if Clarissa were ready for legacies, which she's not. In her spare time, Clarissa doesn't have a lot of it, but she loves history and just finished reading a book called Einstein's Fridge about how thermodynamics, the power of hot and cold, have helped us understand the universe. Heavy stuff for most of you, but not us, for most of us. But for Clarissa, it was a page turner. Ladies and gentlemen, it is once again my honor to introduce our next honoree, Dr. Clarissa Desjardins.
Merci beaucoup de l'honneur que vous me faites ce soir. Je suis profondément touchée et ravie de recevoir ce prix avec les autres lauréats autour de la table que j'admire tant. As a young woman, I never thought I would become an entrepreneur. I thought I would study science and become a professor. I loved the feeling of looking in the microscope and imagining that I was the first person to observe what I was seeing. I used to look around our beautiful laboratory and wonder who pays for all this. I knew that doing basic research was a privilege afforded only to wealthy countries, and I was grateful for it. Then a colleague and I stumbled upon a new invention. It was a simple research tool, but it was much better than the alternative. My PhD supervisor at the time was very much against us filing a patent on the invention. He said, "In academia, we share our ideas freely with each other. We don't file patents and then charge our colleagues for the tools." However, I knew that our discovery was useful, and I wanted to develop it for as many people as possible, not just a handful of colleagues that we knew. I also felt that if you discovered something useful, wasn't it your duty to try to develop it into something that could benefit others? Such was my mindset as I set out to create my first business. The fundraising, for my first business was not easy, but that biotech company became a success. We shipped our research tool all over the world, and the individual angel investors who took a risk on us made 10 times their money when we were purchased 4 years later. For me, there was no looking back, as I now understood the power that my education had given me to create jobs and generate economic activity. I learned that it was possible to combine new knowledge creation with wealth creation for the benefit of employees, investors, and society. The subsequent businesses that I founded grew in scale and scope. The individual angel investors were replaced by venture capital companies and the venture arms of pension funds. The cycle of venture capital investment, to me, is a virtuous circle. High-risk businesses are funded, and when successful, they yield new products, great jobs, and financial returns for all shareholders, including the holders of those pension funds. Furthermore, in biotechnology companies, an employee stock option plan is standard, and it represents an average of 15% of the outstanding stock of the company, so everyone is an owner. Our healthcare system is in need of reform. New therapies and vaccines are not the only solution to our problems, but they're a critical part of it. All you need to create businesses like the ones that I have is to have a good hypothesis for how to impact a disease, a devoted entrepreneur, and venture capital. No government funded needed. However, in my experience, there are far more great ideas for how to treat medical conditions and solve other healthcare problems than there are entrepreneurs willing to create the companies to develop them. This is unfortunate because for those willing to try, the rewards are great. I believe it's only a matter of time before there are treatments for most major illnesses, including, importantly, the psychiatric ones which cause so much suffering today. With enough resources and time, cures for these illnesses is possible. I believe this because I've seen it happen. Si j'ai eu du succès dans ma vie, c'est grâce à mon environnement. La vérité est que je suis une Canadienne bien ordinaire qui a eu l'opportunité de faire des choses extraordinaires. J'ai grandi dans une petite ville, comme vous l'avez su, où ma famille, mon père est ici ce soir, il m'a surpris, et les gens, ma famille surtout, avaient des grandes valeurs canadiennes. On valorisait l'honnêteté et la gentillesse. I therefore grew up thinking that I could make a difference. I grew up trusting others. I always felt safe. People are always telling me how courageous I must be to have started these businesses. Well, I don't think that that's the case at all. Mark is courageous. The people of Ukraine are courageous. People who live with horrific rare diseases every day are courageous. I'm not courageous. I just feel compelled to try my best when I see a problem that I can potentially solve. I think this determination stems from the gratitude that I've always felt for the opportunities I have received, opportunities that most men or women across the world can only dream of. With the gratitude I feel also comes a sense of responsibility, that I should be the one to make the effort. The businesses that I founded created products that were sold globally, generated tens of millions in revenues and hundreds of jobs. And as good as that sounds for the economy, it is I personally who have reaped most of the rewards. Developing new treatments where none existed before is by far the most rewarding thing that I've ever done in my life. Of course, this was done as a team, but I know that we changed lives. The very essence of an entrepreneur is someone who believes that they can control their own destiny and even improve that of others. This faith is necessary for healthy entrepreneurship and is something that doesn't exist everywhere. It's something that I believe we have here in Canada for most Canadians, and it stems from our shared values of justice, tolerance, and inclusion. For me, the recipe to successful entrepreneurship seems to have been that you can never be too grateful, you can never be too courageous, and you will never regret trying your best to help others. Thank you.